Hello and welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and in this episode, we're taking a look at the brand new Dark Knight Returns figures from McFarlane Toys. I have several copies of the Dark Knight Returns book in different formats. I have it in hardcover, I have it in softcover, I have a black and white version. I've got so many different types of it, and to be honest, I can never have enough. And I'm also constantly on the hunt for really good merchandise of Dark Knight Returns, and to be quite honest, there's been a lot of good stuff out there, but not all of it has really fit into how I collect and what I want to collect. So along comes McFarlane Toys, and it turns out that they're doing DC action figures, well, quite often better than how DC was actually doing them. So I have very high hopes for these figures. Let's go ahead and take a look at these things. And first things first, we got to start with the packaging. And the packaging is exactly what we've seen from every single other McFarlane toy since they basically started doing action figures in this style with DC. They're all the exact same size, all pretty much the exact same color. They're all basically black boxes with a big window in the front. And that's really about it. I mean, basically, the upside is that you get to see everything that's inside this figure, which includes the figure, the Build-A-Figure parts, any accessories they have, and you can kind of get a peek at some of the other bonus bits that we'll talk about a little bit later on. But for the most part, it's a really simple box, and again, they've been very consistent with this design for the past few years. They have not really deviated from it in any way whatsoever. It's a nice sized box. They're also fairly compact considering the size of the figures, so they're easy to display in package this way. They fit right on the shelf if you want to do a library style or whatever you want to do. There's nothing really fancy about them whatsoever. They just keep it real simple, and it gets the job done. The back of the box is, well, pretty boring to be quite honest. Not really what I was expecting. I always forget how McFarlane packages these things, but yeah, the back of the box, they all have pictures of Batman riding his horse, which is the Build-A-Figure in this series. And then to the right of that is the instructions on how to build a figure, and that's basically it. And then on the bottom, you get to see everybody who's in this line, which is, of course, the four figures, the Joker, Robin, Batman, and Superman. And there's basically no customization beyond that on the back of this box. And really, you know, for the most part, they keep it pretty tame all across the thing anyway. I mean, you're basically just seeing the character's name a few times on it. Otherwise, it's all identical, for better or for worse. But of course, I'm not a mint on card collector, so let's go ahead and bust these figures out of the box and take a closer look at them from all angles. Alright, and here is our Dark Knight Returns lineup from McFarlane Toys, starting with, of course, the Dark Knight himself, Batman. We've got ourselves our Carrie Kelly Robin, we have the really menacing Joker, and we've got ourselves Superman, who looks a lot, well, maybe not quite so Superman-ish, but yeah, so, you know, let's just start taking a look at these guys, and I am so impressed with how they captured Frank Miller's art with these toys. You know, we've seen other Dark Knight Returns figures before from plenty of other companies, like DC Collectibles has done it, I think Mattel's even done a few as well. And, you know, usually if you don't catch that, the toys aren't going to look good, period. That's basically the end of it. But really, they got every single detail right with these figures, and if you mess that up, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much game over. But no, I really have no complaints with more or less the look of how these things are, because it's basically how we see them in the comics. And to be quite honest with you guys, too, like, I wasn't necessarily planning on actually buying the entire set. Really, I just wanted Batman and Carrie Kelly. But then I saw that there was the Build-A-Figure, and that kind of got me really excited to get the rest of the series. Then I saw the Joker, and the Joker also looks really great. And as for Superman, well, he's still Superman, but it's not a bad Superman. I got some thoughts on him. So let's talk a little bit more in depth about the likenesses and whether or not they really do fit the characters. Do they look like the Dark Knight Returns characters straight out of the comics? Well, yeah, I've already said they did, because they absolutely do. I mean, look at these faces right now. On the Dark Knight especially, I mean, man, the detail is perfect from every angle. This looks like it's the Frank Miller drawing. I can just, like, sense Klaus Janson inking these things, too. Like, yeah, no, especially this one. Like, this is a great Batman head here. Just love the little ears, too. Yeah, that's a perfect Batman. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at Carrie Kelly as well. Let's see how that one fares, because that one, she's all the way down here because she's so small and tiny. This one here, to me, is really, really great and very underrated in a lot of ways, too. Because, you know, let's see if I can get you guys a better look at it. But one of the things I really like is her eyes, because, you know, they are covered up very much by her hair, by her glasses, but if you get a good look at those eyes, they're basically just like the way they're drawn in the comic. And same thing with her nose, with her lips, all of her features. It's pretty much how they look in the comics. It's a perfect adaptation in three-dimensional plastic form. I mean, they really got carried down perfectly. Like, this might be the standout, but that's hard to say because this whole line has a lot of really great standouts. Let's move on to the Joker, because the Joker, that's a real creepy grimace right there. Yikes. I mean, again, yeah, just the head is so great. It's a perfect Joker, too. I'm going to use that word a lot, aren't I? I feel like I'm going to be wearing out the word perfect in this video. But it's kind of true. I mean, this likeness on the Joker, too. This is just straight out of the comic books. Everything about it, the features, the nose, the eyes, the way it is. I mean, yeah, no, this is great. Now, unfortunately, there is one downside of this entire wave, and in my opinion, it's Superman. Yeah, when I saw this figure, I just said to myself, this looks like Ronald Reagan as Superman. And you know what? To be quite fair, I'm pretty sure that's what Frank Miller was going for anyway. I mean, he makes no real, there really is no hidden agenda when it comes to that. I mean, Reagan is in the comic anyway. So, yeah, this is clearly meant to be Ronald Reagan as Superman, and, you know, I mean, I guess it works. It's just, I kind of wish it wasn't, just because I think otherwise, I love the Superman body. You know, everything about this figure is, like, so cool, because, you know, again, it's that Frank Miller blocky style. So that part is awesome. It's like such a thick-looking Superman, but then you get to that Ronald Reagan face, and it just kind of kills it for me, because I don't really want Ronald Reagan as my Superman. So, yeah, that part kind of sucks, but otherwise, I mean, you know, likenesses top to bottom here, they're just really strong. I mean, these are, yeah, again, these are knockouts, man. Like, these are such good faces here. And on top of that, too, the bodies are really great as well. And again, with Miller drawings especially, his style is very thick. And pretty much every figure here besides Carrie Kelly, yeah, they're all thick. And not just with, like, 2 Cs. That's got, like, you know, 12 Cs on these guys here. I mean, you know, Carrie Kelly's very slim, very thin. That's accurate to her, too. But Joker especially, I mean, you know, they made him so enormous and really very much imposing physically, which I don't really think he has been really in other comics until Miller drew him this way. But yeah, he looks so enormous, so imposing. You know, again, just like I said about Superman, he's a big, beefy Superman. And that's one of the things I think a lot of people like about these characters, that they do feel very much larger than life, and that's because of the way they're drawn. And yeah, they absolutely capture that here in action figure form too. Now, unfortunately, one of the things we're going to talk about here is articulation. And while the articulation is excellent, one of the downsides is all of their joints are so stiff out of box. I said that in a lot of my reviews, but in this case, this is like a whole brand new level of stiffness. And I'd heard some other people reviewing these things, and they'd said similar things, that the joints are really bad. I didn't believe them until I got them in my hands. Oh my God, you guys. I'm so afraid to move these figures. I'm so afraid to move any of these things. Their joints are so rock hard. And you can kind of see it with some of their feet in particular. And Superman, in fact, gave me a real hard time. You know, all their joints are kind of, in their ankles, just kind of wonky all over the place. Joker wasn't too bad. And Carrie Kelly, you can see, she did not fare too great here. I mean, her ankle joints are kind of bulging out a little bit because I just couldn't get them in the right position. Batman, kind of the same story. You know, it's unfortunate because while everything else is very stiff, it is still eventually pliable, but it's the ankles in particular where everybody's kind of just being a big, big problem. So if you have a blow dryer, you're going to want to use it here. If you got hot water, you're going to want to use that too. You will not want to take these out of the box and start posing them, because they will absolutely break on you. I'm positive about that. And, you know, another thing too that kind of bugged me here, not articulation related, but I just want to show you guys Superman again real quick. And you can see someone's kind of up with his tights there. It's kind of like bulging to the front. It's kind of off to the side also. I don't know what happened. I'm going to contact McFarlane customer support and see if I can get a new one or something. I've never dealt with them before, so I don't know what to expect from it. But, I mean, yeah, I didn't really notice it until I took it out of the box. And you'll see in my photos of it as you watched the mint and package pictures earlier that it was like that too inside the packaging. So I thought maybe when I popped it out, I'd be able to put this back in place. But no, it is just completely shifted. That leg is sticking out. So, yeah, that's just something you got to watch out for, I guess. I mean, if you're buying these things, especially look out for Superman. Make sure that his tights are in the right spot. That's like the weirdest thing I'll say in this review, but it's the truth. So let's spend a little bit of time with that articulation. Let's see, who should I use here? Yeah, let's use you, Batman. All right, let's move everybody out of the way for a second, and let's talk about some bat articulation. McFarlane Toys is a pretty good amount of articulation to begin with their toys. It's just, again, the stiffness is real bad. I'm actually trying to show you the head. It is, you can see it there going right back into place. So I'm not going to do that more than what I just did right there. But it's funny because his shoulders are like super easy to articulate and move around, I should say, not maneuver. Maneuver isn't a word. Is it a word? Might be a word. He also has some butterfly joints in the chest, which are kind of nicely hidden, so he's got some real good range of motion, or, you know, he would if it wasn't for the fact that he's such a beefy Batman, and, you know, he can't really cross his arms anyway. We have, let's see, no bicep swivel on these figures, it looks like. We have single joint elbow, also fairly stiff. We have some wrist articulation that can flex. We have the torso part that can move. The waist moves, but it's, again, doesn't really want to move. Let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit and take a look at his legs. So same thing here, good articulation. Thigh joint can move, double jointed knees. That's all good. And the ankles are on roller ankles as well, so you can get some good flexibility there. But again, they're just really disgustingly stiff. So I can't really even show you the true depths of how much these figures can move, because he doesn't want to do much. He, you know, Batman is resisting the entire way, and it's not any better with the rest of the figures in this lineup. Something else I really want to highlight with these figures right now is the texture on these toys. For the most part, you know, this lineup is fairly smooth. I mean, Robin and Superman, not really much to discuss here, and especially not really with details either. Not really a ton of little fine details that make them into more excellent figures, but those little fine details come more with Batman and with Joker. And when I talk about that, you know, like you can look at just kind of the rough texture here in his bat symbol, which is also like popping out of his chest. The Joker is what's really, really exciting to me because you can see all of these little indentations on his outfit that is so reminiscent of the artwork in the comics. Like, I was curious how they were going to do that. I thought they'd paint it in, but no, they went with this indentation look. And I think it's the most effective way that we've seen it in action figure form. Now, I don't own any of their Dark Knight Returns figures, so I don't know quite how they look, but I think they were always painted on. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but either way, I mean, what they did here by making these into three-dimensional things and not just paint application, that was brilliant. I really love that. Likewise, you know, all the outfits in these guys are especially nice, but Batman's just feels so worn. It's like it's clinging to his body. It's such a nice-looking thing to have. It makes it feel kind of a lot more real. It makes it feel very much Miller. Superman's outfit still has some of that cling, but not nearly as much as Batman. I think that's kind of like, you know, what made this Batman so iconic in the first place was that. And, you know, talk about paint application, too. Let's maybe bring in some of their figures back in here. I think paint application is very good on everybody here. It's very clean across the board. Really, there's no slop or anything like that. You know, again, for the most part, these are all fairly simple paint jobs. But, you know, if you messed up a simple paint job, you'd know. The one downside is a few of the characters do have a little bit of specks of something on their face. I might be able to scratch it off, but again, Superman, he's got like a big old hunk of something missing from his chin there. So again, we'll be dealing with customer service very soon. Now, something too I should actually mention, let's turn these guys around. Let's talk about some capes here, or at least let's try to talk about capes, because they're going to have a hard time standing up, I think, when I turn them around. But, you know, Todd McFarlane loves his capes. I think that's like a well-known fact at this point. So yeah, when he does capes, they're going to be amazing, and this is, as usual, no exception to that rule. I mean, look at Robin's cape. Even Robin's cape is really great, and everybody's cape has like real distinct personality to it also, and it really says a lot about who the characters are. You know, like Carrie Kelly's is kind of very free-flowing and just blowing in the wind. Batman's is so crumpled and organized. It's a mess, but it's his mess, and he knows what it is. It's, you know, it's you can tell it's a huge cape, but it's just very compact, squeezed in. It's got a lot of personality there. Joker has not missed back day for his workouts, so that's cool. And Superman, likewise, you know, you can see his cape is flowing a lot differently than Batman's is. You know, Batman's is very kind of sullen, sunken in. Superman's is also kind of flowing, but, you know, fun little details or just things like that. I mean, look at all the different layers in this. You know, these capes just have so much expressiveness to them. It's a very cool thing to have, and, you know, that's the kind of thing you really only get from Todd McFarlane. Let's talk about accessories now here, starting with Batman. And Batman comes with, well, basically just the one thing that you see right here. He comes with this Batarang, which is attached to a rope. You'll notice it is not, in fact, in his hands at all. That is because, yeah, the hands are also really hard plastic. I was surprised to see how hard they were. And it's a little difficult to get things in there. So, you know, I think if you're going to do anything with these hands, you really want to heat them up a little bit, because this is very, very difficult. It should not be that difficult to get stuff in there, but that's what Batman comes with. Joker comes with an additional hand, which I don't really quite know what it was for. It almost looks like it might have been for a gun, but we know that's not coming with McFarlane Toys anytime soon. But he does come with a knife, because of course he does. And this knife is like really soft plastic, which again is kind of the contrast to the very hard plastic on his hands. It's so soft, and his hand is so hard that it doesn't really go in the way it should. So once again, if you want to get that knife into his hand, you're probably going to want to blow dry the hand a little bit, and then that's going to be your chance to get it in. Otherwise, you know, it's just so soft and so rubbery, it's harder to get in than it should be. And, you know, the other hand, it doesn't really fare much better. The other hand is actually just way too big. So, you know, it's nice that he has a knife. It'd just be nice if you could actually hold it a little bit easier. Superman comes with an additional set of hands. These are kind of like some more open grappling hands. I'd love to show you how they actually fit, but they're probably really, yeah, no, these are unfortunately way too stiff to pull out. I can already tell they're not going to come out easily. And seeing how these McFarlane toys are, I just don't want to risk it right now. So, well, he has other hands. Take my word for them. They fit, I'm sure. But, yeah, get yourself your blow dryer, folks. And finally, our Carrie Kelly comes with her slingshot. Of course she has her slingshot. I mean, she has to have the slingshot. How could she not? And let's see. This, I feel like we're actually going to have a shot of maybe getting it in her hands. Or I feel like I'm speaking too soon. But it's kind of going. Again, this piece is like really, really soft and rubbery. And it's a little difficult to work with her hand. But I think we can kind of sort of fake it here. Yeah, we got it. Oh, my God. We actually got an accessory into someone's hands. Oh, my goodness. Wow. I should not be as excited for this as I am, but unfortunately that's how this toy line has been so far. But yeah, you can actually get that in her hand and you can pose her with it, so that is awesome. Unfortunately, for anything that involved hand swapping, well, you can't really do that in this video, or at least not yet until Todd McFarlane comes out with his McFarlane Toys branded blow dryer. In addition to all of the individual accessories each figure has in this lineup, all the figures also come with bases. Does that bother anybody? Do you not like that? Do you not like when they're uneven like that? Let me taste your tears. None of the bases have any specific names on them, so basically any base can go to any figure. Really the only thing that's on them that kind of discerns what they could be for is the fact that they have DC labels on them. That's about it. Otherwise, it's basically just a plain black base, and really no defining features worth noting, other than they do have a peg hull, which will obviously only fit McFarlane action figures. Now, the one thing that I think is a little bit of a misstep when it comes to these bases is the fact that, well, nobody has any flying bases. Now, granted, it's not like anybody's really flying necessarily besides Superman, but I think it would be pretty important to have for poses with characters like, well, definitely not Joker, but for one, Superman would be really great. But personally, it's Carrie Kelly. She, I think, could really use that base because Carrie Kelly having that base means she could kind of be flying in the air, doing her kick. I think it's like one of the covers of the issue too. Like, it's a pretty famous pose. So, I don't know why no one has a flying base here. I would assume it's probably just because of the fact that we have our big Build-A-Figure, but I think that's a missed opportunity that, at the very least, one of these toys should have had that. And last but not least, we also get a trading card with each of these figures. And this time around, it's trading cards with photos of all the action figures. So this time around, it's not comic book art. It is, in fact, just photos of the toys, which is kind of cool. I think these are all really nice-looking photos. I especially like, Batman's really cool, but I think really Joker has got like the best card. It's so colorful, so awesome. So the cards are cool, and it's always nice to have action figures back in cards, but what thing still kind of sucks about them, and again, it's been a while since I looked at anything McFarlane on the channel here, but I had this complaint back when we did like some other toys that they did. It's that their font is so damn tiny on the back of these cards. It makes me feel really old, and it can't just be me though, because like these are really long bios. I mean, these are just enormous bios with such tiny fonts that it really doesn't do anybody any justice, especially when you look at these cards and you're like, look at how much empty spaces there is in this too. Like, there's so much empty white space on all of these cards, so why couldn't they have just made the font just a little bit bigger? It boggles my mind, but, again, cool to have cards back here. Just wish that, after this many years of McFarlane doing this, somebody would say, maybe we should make that font a little bit bigger. And last but not least, it is time for us to reenact my favorite scene from The Godfather. No, not really, actually. Right now we're going to talk about the Build-A-Figure, which is why I've got all these random disembodied pieces of a horse, which out of context is kind of weird, and I think even in context it's still pretty weird, but yeah. We got a whole mess of body parts here for our Build-A-Figure, which is the horse. It's the horse that Batman rides in on. It's a really cool scene, and it was honestly one of the biggest attractions to me when this figure came out, was because, if I get all 4 figures in this set, I get a free horse. And that's, I know it's bizarre to say, but like for real, I buy Mythic Legions, if you guys aren't familiar with this channel. I buy a lot of fantasy figures, and so having an extra horse that fits in with that scale, and that is not really that expensive, that's a huge bonus. So let's go ahead and put this horsey together now, see how that looks. Just a reminder, the instructions for how to build this horse are on the back of every package. So, but for the most part, it looks like it's pretty straightforward. I don't really know if there's a right way or a wrong way to do this. I guess we're about to find out. But I think the first thing I'm going to do is put the horse's head onto the body. I feel like that's the smart thing to do first. So let's see how intuitive this whole process is as well. Because again, it's not like there's a ton of pieces in here, but still enough that, if you screw it up, it's going to probably be a real pain in the butt to put these things back together. So just so you guys can see here, there's a few different things I guess we're going to have to keep in mind as we put this horse together. First thing is I'm putting this head right in place, and our goal is just kind of keep this head steady while we slide in this other part here. And I say slide because there's these little connective bits here, and it looks like they're meant to latch onto each other. So let's try that right now. Let's see how smooth that works. Not going too bad so far, though. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much that. You just slide that in, and that's now holding in place. So that part was easy. Okay, let's go ahead and let's get some legs on here, I guess. And that looks like it's just about the same. We're just basically squeezing these things in there, and they are in. That's that leg. I gotta get his other legs as well. Left them off camera, but there we go. So far, it's going pretty good. Let's get the saddle on. This I was actually worried about because I feel like I probably should have done this earlier in the process, but it doesn't look like it's that much of a problem. Not at all, in fact. And if you want to have him just ride without a saddle, you could easily do that too, it looks like. If you keep sliding it down, you'll eventually get it where it needs to be, which is right around here. Let's go ahead and get his other hind legs in there, or front legs. I don't know horses enough, but he's got some more leg bits. Let's find a home for them. It's like these we just slide on up until they lock into place. And they're pretty stiff out of box too, but it looks like they're in. Yeah, that's pretty much in there. And finally, let's get our tail locked into place. Tail is the easiest part. And that is how we put together our horsey, more or less. Let's take a closer look at him, shall we? Nay. All right, nay, I say. Here is our big horsey. He is a big horse. And if you want to get some exact measurements here, I mean, let's go ahead, we'll show you guys. He's about, a little bit about 10 inches across, and as far as height goes, top of his head, it's about 9 inches. So that's a big horse. This is a very big Build-A-Figure. And that's really what a Build-A-Figure should be. I mean, they're meant to be pretty huge, but it's a very big, very nicely detailed figure here. Of course, the main question now is, can we actually get Batman on him? And can we actually pose this character? Can we pose this horse to get it to work out? Well, I can tell you guys right now, as far as articulation goes on this horsey and posing, once again, without that blow dryer, without heating the joints up, you're going to have a hard time moving this thing around, especially the ankles. Now, it is nice to see that the horse can support the weight of itself. I mean, I was worried about that, honestly, but as I try to manipulate the ankles on this thing, it's not working. They're very stiff. They're so stiff. They're so badly stiff. And, having bought recently the Mythic Legions horse, which I reviewed on the channel a while ago, I mean, that just kind of blew this thing out of the water. Granted, it cost more because it's a standalone figure, but, it didn't have any of these issues. In particular, I'm trying to show you guys this leg right here on the left. Or right, I guess in this case, whatever. The other left. It's so stiff, I cannot move it. It's going to break if I do. It couldn't move earlier. I tried manipulating it. Just won't move. The rest of the parts, they do move, and you can actually get them to hold this position here, but there's no way you're going to actually be able to pull off that pose you saw in the back of the box. With the horse right now the way it's just going to fall over. I mean, maybe if we heat up the joints, we'll stand a better chance of getting him in that pose, but I highly doubt it. Now, I'm also curious to see if we actually can get Batman to ride this horse, and let us see if we can do this, how awkward it's going to look here. On the image in the back, we see that his feet were in there. That's not happening. That's definitely not happening anytime soon. Let's see if we already know also we're not going to be getting this into his hands anytime soon. So Batman will just not use that, I guess. Yikes. Yeah, I'm trying, you guys, but this is almost like the He-Man Battle Cat situation again, too. It's like we have this figure, and there's no way he's going to actually be able to really ride this horse. That's disappointing. I mean, no, it's so clunky. Joints are so, messed up and I mean, look at this thing. He's, leaning over right now on one hoof. There might be a way. Maybe someone else out there has figured out some ways. This part's already falling off, too. It's kind of disappointing. With this horse. I had much high hopes for it. This is going to end up being, a background character in, a Mythic Legion scene or something, because it just... there we go. All right, this leg is moving a little bit, but you can see he's just falling right over. And Batman is down. So, kind of a big misstep here. I don't know, you guys. Maybe someone out there can tell me more about how to get this horse to work right, but as of now, it's a cool showpiece, but, you really don't need it. I mean, at least the head moves around. Well, the head moves, okay, the head can do this, which is... That noise is horrible. The actual head is still also very stiff. Again, there's just so many issues with stiff joints in this thing. It's really disappointing. Oh, man, yeah. Now, the fact that you really got to blow dry this thing so much, I guess that's not the worst. It happens with toys a lot. It's just, I expected a little bit better, I guess. I don't know why. I just had higher hopes for this thing, and this is just, yeah, such a little bit of a problem. I mean, you could kind of fake it. It's going to take some effort. I think you could probably pull off some posing with it, but not quite as dramatic as the back of the box suggests. So, final thoughts on the McFarlane Toys Dark Knight Returns set of 4 action figures here. There is a lot to like about these toys. There is so much to really love about them. I mean, the looks of these things are just perfect. As I said again and again, they really nailed this. There's no other way to describe this other than the fact that they nailed it. They got so many perfect details, like you're seeing Joker's outfit, the wrinkles in Batman's clothes, so many little things, the expression on Carrie Kelly's face, so many things right. And then there's a lot of things that are kind of not so great, like Superman right here being kind of a chunky, funky-looking character. Ugh, that's such a bad figure. But then you get things like Carrie Kelly. This is probably one of the best versions we've seen of Carrie Kelly in toy form. I know there's been some talk about her ankles looking weird or her knees looking weird also. If you're not used to seeing double-jointed knees or things like that, it's going to look weird, but, that's what statues are for, guys. If you don't like the way articulation makes a toy look, you're going to probably want to buy a statue that has no articulation, and that'll solve that problem for you instantly. But otherwise, I think for the most part, for a $20 figure, they're pretty solid. They're pretty great. I mean, they're more than just solid. They are great figures. You're getting the exact accessories that you need for the toys, which, in some cases isn't really a lot of things, but that's also because you're getting that giant Build-A-Figure horse. And unfortunately, the Build-A-Figure horse, there's still some work to be done with that thing. It could just be me, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that I don't know how to plate my horsey the right way. But, you know, there's definitely things they could have done better on this guy. The fact that it seems like he can't really ride it the way he should be riding it is a problem. That's going to be something I will toy with off camera a little bit more and see if I could find a better way to get that to work. But, you know, as of now, it's not looking too good, not too strong. And the fact that the legs just seem kind of warped on him also, that really doesn't help things out here. But, you know, for the most part, if you're going to buy these things, you're really not buying it for the horse, although you're potentially buying it to get that big pose. But, again, that's something we'll deal with later on. But as far as the figures themselves go, the look of them, the feel of them, I have really nothing bad to say about that. The stiffness, I do have a big problem with, but everybody looks perfect. Everybody looks exactly the way they should. And again, I'm keeping in mind the fact that these are $20 figures. Maybe they're a little bit more. These might be $25 now, whatever they are still. You know, the prices are pretty great. We used to pay more from like DC Direct to get figures of similar quality. I won't say which is better, which is worse, because that's always kind of objectively, you know, to the person who's buying what they want out of their toys. But for what we're getting here, for this series of toys, this is really great. I can't really complain too much beyond that than what I've already said. And I'm really happy with this purchase overall, too. And, you know, once I heat up these joints and get them to really move around, I think I'll feel a lot better about them, too. I'm being a little nitpicky. Maybe not really nitpicky, but I'm being a little harder on them because the fact is, right out of the box, they're really not moving too well. But I think if you do heat these things up and you get them a little more loose, a little more flexible, you're going to have a lot of great times. And I know this for a fact because I have seen other collectors who have these toys who have done really great posing with them. So, yeah, I know it's possible. It's just apparently right out of the box, it is not possible to do. So if you guys want to pick up these figures for yourselves, why not check out our Amazon affiliate and Entertainment Earth links below. They're in the description for this video. We got links to both of them, and both these help us out with no extra cost to you at home. So please support this channel in whatever way you can. And if you're not buying these figures, hey, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And most of all, let me know what you think about these figures, and if you think these really truly capture the Frank Miller artwork, or if there's something better out there that I should probably be looking at instead. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. That's our look at the McFarlane Toys Dark Knight Returns action figures set. So we'll see you guys here next time with more action figure and statue reviews and everything else we do here on Nerd News Today.